In the English leagues, there appears to be a divide based on opinion on a certain club. A club which has asked many questions and sparked a lot of interest in the last couple of years. That team in question is, of course, Wrexham, which has had a rise that has not really been seen by many football clubs. And the main thing that makes this stand out is that this isn't any normal story of a club being bought out by a rich businessman. This was more. This was almost put forward as like a TV show. Hollywood actors, famous celebrities, documentaries on Disney. And the main word that you need to keep in mind is this one: jealousy. Is this all down to jealousy? Why do I say this? Let's go into yesterday. So on Thursday night, I did a post during the Wrexham game, in fact. If you had to decide which 3 teams in League One would you want to see promoted? This tweet did pretty well, got over 400 comments and a lot of engagement through what teams people would want. But one comment I saw get repeated time and time again: anyone but Wrexham. Absolutely not Wrexham. Anyone but Wrexham. Definitely not Wrexham. Fabricated plastic, American owned. Nobody in that league wants to see Birmingham or Wrexham promoted. Anyone saying Wrexham needs to give their head a wobble. Anyone but Wrexham. So why? Now, I did a video about Wrexham, I want to say about 2 years ago, about why their rise has come off with so much just vitriol between, mainly from what I can see, is largely the lower league football community. When you talk to a person who maybe supports a Premier League club or from overseas or whatever, then the idea of Wrexham being a championship is a cool idea. The story of a team coming from non-league, being promoted to League 2, League 1 and championship is a cool idea. It's that they like to see it. They like to see a story because I guess they find it more interesting. And if you're from the lower leagues, obviously you see what's happened to Wrexham and think, and I can't help but feel that there is an element of jealousy here. And comment down below your thoughts. This is the space for you. This is a safe space. Go and talk about what you think. And if you're a Wrexham fan as well, feel free and comment down below what you think too. And most importantly, to keep in mind, my main gripe with people having a go of Wrexham in the way they're owned or whatever else, and you may talk about as well, they bought the way to this and that, and sure, right? My main fundamental key issue is we have a massive go about awful owners at football clubs that treats it like complete trash and is more than happy to let it go down the pan. And there's many examples of that. I did videos about Southend United, I did videos about Reading, I did videos about Scunthorpe United. I've done videos talking about why clubs have been just awfully ran. So I've gone through the research of this. So to see a club and a community that was poorly ran beforehand be bought by new owners that cares about the club and the community, and then gave the club and the community the backing and the resources to actually become successful, I don't see the problem in that. Other than clubs that are also in the lower level, which doesn't have the backing and doesn't have the money and doesn't have the resources available, to of course, understandably, be like, well, that's just fucking annoying. So anyway, comment down below, like and subscribe, and there's all the designs for the best football prints made by myself. Of course, there's many Wrexham prints as well if you're indeed a Wrexham fan, or really any club. I think I pretty much cover every single team in any two with multiple prints now. So, link down below. Use code Wrexham for 15% off all items. Let's go. So, what I did was put out a post to my community with the idea of people explaining the reasons for the hatred of Wrexham, other than just the obvious that they got a Hollywood ownership, okay, by Ryan Reynolds and the other guy. Let's look at the most common response I got. It's the media obsession with them. Nothing about what they have achieved is a fairy tale, on a budget and with a level of attention no other club at the level could ever dream of, but still it is constantly rubbed in people's faces and sold as some sort of underdog story. This is by far, without a doubt, the number one main thing that I find, which is the main annoyance, right? And it comes to other teams in League 1 or League 2, they look at the attention that Wrexham have gotten, and then they are also given the idea that it's some kind of fairy tale story or underdog story along the same lines. Now, this may not be something that Wrexham fans may be saying. They may be completely aware of the fact that they have got fortunate with their ownership, but the media is a different story. The way the media talks about the club shouldn't therefore make you hate the club. But Again, you may have seen Wrexham fans in the past, or even now, maybe act as if they are a bigger club than what they actually are. But to use like the media as like the main reason to hate a club, I find stupid. It's like hating Manchester United because they always talk about them in Sky Sports. Well, because they bring in the most views and attention and therefore money. And as your media company, journalist, BBC, whatever, your main job is to bring in the most clicks and attention as possible. So if you do a Wrexham article compared to doing a, I don't know, Crawley Town article or Crewe Alexandra article, of course you're going to get more attention for it being a Wrexham article because they've got much more of a wider audience that are willing to go and click on that article. It's not rocket science. Here's a weird one here about the owners. It's just that really. Owners chose to build them up rather than rescue Bury, which is a joke really. I don't really know how Wrexham can be compared to Bury. I don't know why is Bury even involved in this situation. I don't know what even looking for buying a club at a time period. I just find that's a weird thing to kind of make out here. By the way, to clarify, I'm not a Wrexham fan. I barely even know any Wrexham fans myself. Okay, I've got no favoritism to them. My only thing is I've done videos, I've done research looking into clubs that's been ran poorly, awfully, and we've been calling them out about having better owners. So when a club has better owners and they actually are caring about the club and investing in the football club, that's a problem too. So that's just my main gripe of all this. And yes, it probably is jealousy because I would be very much jealous too. Here's another one here. I think it's a lot of the we are a massive club mentality when lots of us can remember Wrexham having very poor crowds in the Football League before they went down even for games against fellow Welsh teams. That's a fair comment. If you got fans that are making it out that the club is bigger than what it actually is and had better attendances and kind of pretending and ignoring their history, then that's going to annoy people. It's such as if City fans, and from my view, City fans, they seem to be kind of, reasonable in terms of their own history. They are self-aware that they had a decent fan base, but they weren't big. And I find it a bit self-aware in terms of history, and I don't know if Wrexham fans are the same way or not, in terms of maybe they just pretend that they never had poor crowds in the past. Another popular one here is the fact that they employed James McClean. James McClean played for many other clubs beyond Wrexham, of course, but James McClean, if you don't know, I feel like this is worth a video in itself, I think, but there's a lot of reasons why James McClean, between the English fans, have got a very bad history, and it usually pops up always around November time during Remembrance Day, where James McClean, very, very proud Irishman, refuses to wear the poppy during the Remembrance Day games, which is a symbol for respecting those in the British Legion that have lost their lives. However, James McClean, as an Irishman, has stood on his beliefs and his own experiences that makes him not want to represent that symbol. If he has his own reasons as an Irishman that he believes that also represents something that is negative for his family, for his culture, then I can't really say that he's wrong by feeling that way. Which then, of course, leads to, well, if you don't want to be here or be associated, then, of course, why are you taking our money and playing for our clubs? And then the story will never stop going, basically. And then probably the last one, really, here is the fact that anything to do with Americanization in English football is therefore automatically disliked. So Wrexham is a symbol of cringe, Americanization, documentary, tourism, basically seeing as a club as Tin Pot, seeing that their fans aren't really actual fans and they're just tourists. I've seen a lot of talk about, let's say, in Tottenham Hotspur, with a lot of Korean fans or Asian fans that are going to games, and people believe that they are, making the actual matchday experience worse for other Spurs fans. There's been a massive talk about this. I saw my friend Macro do a video talking about this in a video recently. Go and check that out. English football kind of are seen as a bit miserable at times, that they like their culture of doing things, and anything outside of that is seen as cringe. There's a common debate with many football clubs, such as my own Burnley, where even just the idea of having a drum at a ground is seen as cringe and tin pot, and the idea of that would make them actually hate you. I don't mind the idea of having a drum at a game. I don't care. I think it can be used well. However, for many English fans, they see it as cringy and touristy and Americanization, and that's what people hate a lot, which some may see as being miserable. Wrexham is a perfect metaphor for all of that. They've got the cringe element of the Netflix documentary, they've got the element of them being from the lower leagues being pumped a tons of money and coming up with players that, let's be honest, like Paul Mullin should not have belonged at that level which he went down to in the first place. Keep in mind, Paul Mullin, if you aren't aware, he was a player who was actually a top goal scorer in the Football League before he made that move down to the National League for Wrexham. Like, Paul Mullin played in League 2 and scored 32 goals for Cambridge United and then went down to the National League. That's obscene. That's clearly insane. Strangely, this season, in League 1, it's not worked out in the same way with 24 appearances with only 2 goals this season. So the gap between League 1 and League 2 seems like it is pretty large. So you add all these different elements of owners that pump a lot of money in. Hollywood, therefore, a lot of attention on about all the media teams, Netflix documentary, including the fact they've bought a lot of players that probably shouldn't be there. Therefore, they've got the pumped up money factor of it as well. Fans believing that they are probably bigger than what they actually are. And then, of course, well, James McClean, and they are also probably as well Welsh. So add all of those things, and there's probably at least 2 things in it that may annoy someone. And if you are, let's say, just a Premier League fan, you're an Arsenal fan that has no connection at all, you may just like the idea of Wrexham being in Premier League anyway, because it'd be a cool story, right? Because you aren't connected to the lower leagues and you don't really know what's going on. But if you're indeed a fan of a club in League 1, League 2, you're a Bradford City fan, or you're a Accrington Stanley fan, you're a Stockport County fan, it will annoy you. So that's the reason why I understand why people are annoyed at them. But I still am to an element that I would rather have a club be ran by owners that actually cared about them and actually put in money than owners that did nothing. Or owners that actively made the club worse and ruined the community. If you are from Wrexham, you must be counting your lucky stars and that a miracle came through your door and that your club is not only back to where you thought it should be, but let's be honest, Wrexham has never been a massive club. I think they've spent 1 or 2 seasons in the second flight in their entire history. So they are in absolute dreamland to even be here in the first place. To have that buzz and to have that rise for your community and your area, of course, you're going to react as if that you've just hit the goddamn lottery. And you may get a bit carried away. But with football, I can't blame them. Because if you can't get excited, then what's the point? Wrexham, comment about what you think about them. Like, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. See ya.